On this episode, we're going to be using some of the amazing tools we've been collecting the last few months to put some structure back into the Renault. And the first step in that process is the front body mount, the hub of all the structure, the base we're going to build off of. So let's design it in AutoCAD and get it cut out on the plasma table. So as you can see, this is our mount that we've designed. What this is gonna do is give us room for the bag to articulate through here. And then what I'm gonna do is drill the frame head right in this area here and put a nutsert in and then build a spacer under it. That way I have 3 points. These other 2 holes are for the beam bolts. So I'm gonna convert this into something that the table can recognize and get it cut out in some thinner metal, just to make sure all of our measurements are correct. So we've got our design loaded up in fire control. We're just going to zero out our project and see what it does. So this was the cut. I was setting it up and I was trying to film it, but then I was having some error messages and it turned out to be something in the CAD program that I screwed up, but it looks just like what we designed, so that's a good sign. What I'm gonna do is just drill out these holes a little bit because I think I made them too small, and then we'll get it test fit and see if all the holes and everything line up. I drilled the holes out a little big. Right before I cut it, I made them smaller, but as soon as it cut, I knew that was wrong. Everything looks real good as far as lining up. So that's the bracket all bolted up. It looks pretty good. There's a couple of things I'm gonna have to adjust. Obviously, the bolt holes, I had to make a little bigger, so I'll adjust that in the program. And then, I don't know if you could see it, but this bolt, the whole thing is kind of sitting like this because this bolt is a little higher. It's not centered on the bracket. That's why we cut it out of the thinner steel. I wish I had like something a little cheaper to cut it out of, but this is what we got. Also, now that I'm looking at it, I might want to add some material in here, but I think this should be good enough. So we'll get the couple adjustments done. I'm gonna go in and mess with that, and then tomorrow, once it's, we'll cut it out of plate steel, 1/4 inch, get it bolted up, and we'll be able to start designing the other bars that are really gonna bring the structure together. So we'll see you tomorrow. I just finished redesigning the mount, just fixing the little mistakes that we made. And I redesigned the front a little bit, just where the bag mount's gonna come up, just to add a little more material in it. So I'm heading back out to the shop now. I'm gonna get it cut out and fit up, and if it's good, then we'll be able to cut the final piece. New mount's cut out, and I just wanted to show kind of the differences we made. So this is the one that we saw, that we had bolted up, and then this is the new one here. So you could see the differences. I got everything more centered up, left some material in this area. Tell me what you guys think. Do you like the new design or the old one? But we're gonna get it bolted up, see how it looks. All right, so I'm real real happy with the way that came out. All our alterations that we made to improve on the first design were a success. Adding a bit more of that material, I think, made it look a little better and just tightened it all up a bit. But next we're gonna have to figure out this back mount. So what I'm gonna do is go get something I can make a spacer out of to kind of support it, a long enough bolt to go through to the frame head, and then we'll get a nutsert down there, and that's just gonna stiffen this back up. We probably don't need it when we go to the 1/4" mount, but it can't hurt. So when you don't know how to build, you overbuild, and that's what we're gonna do. So I've got the material I want to use for the spacer. I bought a 4-foot tube of this stuff and just cut it to the size I needed. I've got this drill bit that fits right through it perfectly, and I'm just going to use it as a punch to get my center point. And then when we cut the material out of the thicker metal, we'll weld this to the bottom, and it'll be a permanent part of the mount. A nut will just slip right through it. We'll use rubber insulators on the bottom and on the nuts, just keep vibration down as much as possible. It's going to be a 10mm bolt that goes through there. I have the 10mm nutsert, but I do not have the die on my tool to use it. So I'm gonna run up to Harbor Freight, see if I can get it locally. If not, order it, but at least we'll have an idea whether it'll work. I could drop the nutsert in, and as long as everything lines up, that'll prove to me that it's good enough to cut out of the thick stuff. So let's get going. All right, everything's lined up, looking good. So that's it, it's time to cut it out at 1/4". So we've got our plate, we've got our bracket. Everything worked great that time. I messed with it for probably about an hour. I think I had a bad ground. Once I got the ground a little closer to the cut, this is what we got. The only thing I'm unsure of is it's not deep at all. It just marked it up, but I'm not worried about that. But look at how awesome it cuts. Pretty incredible. So that's our bracket. I gotta go grab my son from school. We might get back on it tonight, depends on what he wants to do. So if not, we'll pick it up again tomorrow. So we've got the bracket all cleaned up. I have all my hardware and the spacer. Really the last thing to do is just install it. So let's get it installed. I got a little helper out here. And we'll go from there. So thanks to the young lad, we got the bracket installed. Everything fits perfectly. I borrowed a nutsert gun with the proper die, so we got that put in. And although it doesn't seem like we got a lot accomplished, I'm real happy with the progress this week. Next week, we'll be able to just start doing bars in there, and that was most important. I've been so nervous about doing that bracket, designing it in CAD, and it went smoothly. I've been practicing on the CAD, so I'm sure that helped. But there's just one last thing to do before we end this video, so I'm gonna get to that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.